What are some of the changes that you think need to be put in place in that office?
Sure. Well, my plan is a three-step plan. I call it the three-step plan to efficiency. Now, the first step takes the simplest function in the clerk's office, and that's the record-keeping function, and it gives it a shot of life with technology. Right now, we have a combination of paper records, VHS tapes, and DVDs. Now, that kind of mixture, each of those mediums is okay in their own right, but that kind of mixture, I think, is unnecessary. The first thing I would do is take all those records and have them centralized, digitized, and on a central computer that is backed up multiple times. That computer would also allow us to easily provide these records and this information online for free. And it's very similar, Steve, to what John McGauley did in the city clerk or in the county recorder's office. The city clerk's office could use the same software. Software's already been purchased by the county, so it would take a small licensing fee to have the city use it, and all the records, the thousands of records that the clerk's office houses, could be posted online for anybody to access. So that's number one, is getting all the records in the same format and centralized on a computer. The second point in my plan is parking. Parking right now downtown, we have anywhere between 4 and 5 officers that patrol a 12-block radius. These officers also, one of these officers patrols the entirety of the city, drives around looking for people violating handicap spaces. To me, that's a problem, because it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. The handicap spaces should be patrolled. I don't think the problem is too rampant. I don't think people are abusing these spaces as much as one might think. So if a business owner calls in a complaint and says, there's somebody parked in a handicap space, they shouldn't be there, we should send someone out. But we shouldn't have somebody driving an SUV all around town every day searching for a needle in a haystack. So like I said, that's one person. There's 4 or 5 officers patrolling the little bit over 600 meters in the downtown. That comes out to about 2.5 or 3 blocks per officer, and that it seems inefficient to me, Steve, because they're all driving SUVs, and they're rain or shine, they're driving around wasting gas, maintenance, and insurance on these vehicles. First thing I would do in parking is I would put these officers on foot during the summer months. They can double then as ambassadors to the city, so that if a visitor or somebody that is new to downtown, if they have a question about where a certain restaurant is or how they pay their meter or what have you, they can ask one of these ambassadors, these parking enforcement officers, and they'll be there to answer with a smile on their face. That's number one. Number two, we've hired 3 consultants in the last 10 years, 3 parking consultants at a cost of $75,000. These guys told us what we could do to improve our parking situation. And Steve, we didn't take one piece of advice. We didn't take one piece of the advice. I've looked at these reports. There's some good information in there. They met with the downtown small businesses, got their input. They met with the governments downtown. They met with all the parties involved in parking downtown, got their input, and they came back with a nice-sized report. I looked through one report, and one of the suggestions was first meter offense should be a warning. That seems like a no-brainer to me, and that's the second thing I would do in parking, is first meter offense is a warning. Second meter offense should be a higher fine than $5, maybe $10 or $15. That way, if you're new to downtown, if you're a visitor, you're not getting slapped with a ticket immediately. But if you're a chronic offender, the second time you violate your meter time, you're going to have more incentive to pay, because it's going to be a higher ticket price. So that's number 2. First one, put the officers on foot during the summer months. Second one, warning on the first offense. My third aspect of my parking plan is to look into smart meter technology. Smart meters, Steve, are meters that accept coin, credit, and debit cards. They've been implemented in cities all across the country. A couple people have criticized me and said that they're not going to hold up in the winter months, in the snow. They're going to need all kinds of maintenance. These meters are in place not only in Columbus, Ohio, Indianapolis, but also Anchorage, Alaska. So The idea that they won't hold up in a Fort Wayne winter is absurd. These are solar-powered meters, like I said, and they allow the user to, if the user is stuck in a meeting or having lunch and it runs over, it allows the user to hop on their smartphone and update their time on that meter. It also allows the user, as they're driving downtown or before they head downtown, they can log on the computer and find out where the open spaces are, find out where the spaces are open, where they're taken, and in theory, have their spot picked out before they get downtown. So there's conveniences like that in addition to the ability to pay with a credit card. And the third form of payment that's possible is the city can issue reloadable debit cards, like a gift card. So if you park downtown a lot, you can purchase this card from the city and reload it when you run out. It's as easy as swiping it and walking into your meeting. So those are some of the benefits that smart meters pose. I have planned to pay for these through other cuts in the city clerk's budget. I plan a 25% budget cut in the clerk's budget and close to an 18% cut in the parking enforcement budget, and part of that comes from putting those officers on foot. With those savings, we can pay for these meters within 4 years, have them completely installed and working by the end of 4 years. So those are the three aspects of my parking plan. So we can go back over it. Technology and record keeping is number one. Number two is parking. Put officers on foot, first offense warning, and look into smart meters. The third aspect of my plan is probably the easiest one to implement, even easier than the other two things that I just discussed, because it wouldn't cost the city a dime. In fact, it would save the city money, and that is 311. Everybody's familiar with the 311 call center. Call in if you have a question or you want to report a pothole, etc. If you remember at the beginning, I told you how city clerk is the liaison between the people and the government. I think that job description includes being there to answer any question that a citizen might have. So, as far as I'm concerned, we are paying for a 311 call center, and we're paying for a city clerk and a whole city clerk's department there. We're paying for a service twice. What I'd like to do is take 311, consolidate it with the city clerk's office. It wouldn't cost us a dime because every phone in the city is currently 311 capable, and so the software and the hardware is already in place. We would have to endure some staff cuts, but there's a big difference between public sector jobs and private sector jobs. Private sector jobs are what we want. We want the private sector to grow and to boom, and I think not only will my parking plan be a catalyst for that, but having ambassadors as parking officers downtown will also make downtown a lot more welcoming, and it'll be a much, much better climate for small businesses. So record keeping and technology is number one, parking is number two, and number three, consolidate 311 with the city clerk's office, where it probably should be anyway.
One of the things that we hear often from your opponent, and this sounds great, sounds maybe a little ambitious, because one of the things that we've heard from your opponent several times is that things just don't happen that quick in local government.
They don't happen overnight, she said. Yeah.
What's your response to that?
My response, quite simply, I think it's borderline hypocritical for her to say that, because she's had 28 years worth of nights to get things done, and in an election year, I proposed a part of my technology plan back in June, and here in September, at the end of September, the clerk's office took my plan and implemented it almost word for word. So when she says that things don't happen quickly, a 3-month time, I think that's a pretty quick time for government to get something done when they realize that their feet are being put to the fire. And Steve, here's the thing. I am confident in all the ideas that I just outlined for you. I'm confident they're the best thing for this city. They're not Republican ideas. They're not Democrat ideas. It's an administrative office. It's a secretarial position. It's what's best for Fort Wayne, is to save this money, to implement new technology. And the technology that Sandy Kennedy implemented based on my plan is already a good start. However, having said that, I'm only going to be able to provide good ideas for about another 15 days until the election. As soon as the election's over, if we keep doing business as usual, you're not going to have any. You're not going to have your city clerk's office moving forward, and we're going to fall further and further behind other cities in these regards.